Tonight's DJNTV show is sponsored in part by Electro Voice, DJ Event Planner, ADJ, NLFX Professional, Promo Only, Numark, and DJNTV Insiders.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the greatest DJ podcast in the world with
I love your confidence, Joe. I love
two
that.
hosts, Joe Bunn here and
This is Mike.
Mike Walter, Elite Entertainment of New
That's
Jersey and beyond. And our special guest, you heard him laughing. This is part 2 of our episode with the young legend, Brian Buonassissi of B-Boy Entertainment. And what's up, Brian? Welcome back.
Not much, man. Thanks for having me again.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.
Part 2 of the show. The man is so damn interesting. He gets a 2-part show. Almost celebrity-like, I feel like. This is making history for the podcast, folks, with a double episode. It's like those teasers. Like, remember when MASH? You remember that show MASH, Mike? You would remember that.
Yeah,
Brian,
sure.
Brian.
MASH was a big one for
They would
us.
carry over.
MASH, my parents were such hippies. We used to have to watch MASH, and then we would turn it off. I did a remote control, but I guess it was like this.
It was probably
and
that.
then we would have to talk about the moral of the episode.
No.
That's
Come
that's
on.
how hippie-ish my parents
Wow.
were. We would so what did Hawkeye say there? You know what I mean,
That's
like
hilarious.
that's how I grew up.
Brian's
Yeah.
like, what's MASH? He's like,
Yeah, I was
20 years
Nick at
younger than
Night.
us. Yeah, there you
Yeah.
go.
Nick at Night, I think it was still showing those at when I was growing
Yeah.
up.
Well, so we're picking back up with Brian. If you guys didn't happen to catch the first episode with him, you should definitely listen to that one probably first. He leads into a not any really of his background, but more of the current stuff and how he's gotten into the destination DJ market, the high-end mobile DJ market. But anyway, go back and listen to that one. But we want to pick this episode up. Don't want to take a lot of time getting back into the jokes and everything else. I want to talk to you a little bit, Brian, about your, I guess what you would call satellite offices. And it's a much different format than what I do. I mean, I know you operate basically a lot of your shows in Florida, but some in New York. I still think you do some stuff in California. Kind of walk us through how you operate literally in 3 states and 3 parts of the country.
Yeah, well, I will say that the technology has really helped with that.
Yeah.
When I started in California, we never did any advertising, so it was all based on relationships, and that, I think, thread has run through all of our different spots that we're in.
Yeah.
And that's really helpful, so that when you develop those relationships, people don't want to use anybody else, and they're willing to pay a little bit more to bring you back in, if you're providing a service that's just one of a kind.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was having that happen while I was in Florida. These California clients would be calling me, these planners, and be like, listen, we want you to come back to do these events. I said, well, I got to add my travel in.
Mm-hmm.
And I do have 2 local guys in California who still cover a good chunk of them. I mean, we don't do that many anymore there. We probably do 20 shows a year.
Right.
And the good thing is the guys that I have there, they've been with me since the beginning. So they're in their mid to late 40s, and they're not looking to work much.
Yeah.
So this is a part-time job for them. So it works out fantastic. And they're fantastic entertainers as well.
Yeah.
So it's I never have to worry about a bad review. I never have to worry about any of that stuff. So it kind of just like books itself. I have gone through certain families where now I need to find some new fresh families to work my way through.
Like
as
you've
far as
done
the
all
wedding
3
market.
daughters.
Yeah,
so
Yeah,
now it's time
exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. So
When I'm in that situation, Brian, a lot of times we get teary with the last one because we're like, I'm not going to see you anymore, am I? Like I've seen this family every year for the past 4 years,
Right.
but now they're out of siblings, so
Right.
it's almost like you're probably never going to see them again.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's funny.
And
Well-
so when I got to Florida is where it really kind of changed because we had grown so big that there was no way that I could just rely on that. So in the last 2 years, we've tweaked the model a bit. Now I have somebody down there who's kind of general managing that spot because it requires it. We need to have somebody have FaceTime. But even with that, he's so busy on the operations that I was trying to do the sales remotely, and I saw a dip. I'll be honest with you, on our sales, and I think it was just because I was relying on the name and just people coming to me. So if I can give any advice to anybody out there, that FaceTime that you have with those planners, or venues, if that's what you do, how you get your referrals, is crucial. So now, literally just this year, I've started coming back once a month almost, for a week at a time. And I'll have that FaceTime, and we've seen our sales go up. So I mean, that's important.
I couldn't agree with you more, Brian. I mean, I think that people are shocked that every second and third Tuesday of every month of every year that I go to the NACE and ILEA meetings myself. You know what I mean? Like, unless I'm out of town, or one of my kids has something at school, or something family related, you're going to see me at the NACE or ILEA meetings on the second and third Tuesday of every month, because that's where all the planners are. That's where all the cake makers are. The transportation people, the florists, they go to these meetings. And I honestly don't even look at what the agenda is. I don't care who the speaker is. A couple of weeks ago, I didn't even know, and I typed in the address and pulled up on my GPS, and I was like, oh my God, this is at a bowling alley. Like, I'm the worst bowler ever. They were like, you're going to bowl? I was like, no, I'm not going to bowl. I'm horrible. But I'm there, and I made a couple of new friends that night, a little bit of extra, connection, just somebody that had started new at a hotel. I made that connection. So I can't agree with you more that having your face as the owner of the company is that important. And the model that you have is entirely different than what I have. I mean, you're still the owner of these 3 offices, whether there's a physical office in California or not. I mean, you still have 3 locations doing business, correct?
That's correct. Yep.
Whereas my guys are more like franchise owners, or licensees, if you will.
Yeah, which I like that model too. I think there's merit to both. I will say that, like, I think in New York and New Jersey, and Mike, you might know this better than me, but it seems like people stay around in the venues longer here in the Northeast, whereas in the other places, it's like a revolving door. These people stay 5 years, and it's just like a stepping stone to something else. And so you're constantly having to have those connections.
In my market, there's 2 extremes. There are banquet halls where the same person has been running it for 15, 20 years, and then there are banquet halls where every time we go into it, there's somebody new. So it seems like we have both extremes here. But even the places where it's the same person that's been running it for 15, 20 years, getting FaceTime with that person from time to time is still extremely important.
Critical.
No matter how good of a relationship we have with a banquet hall, I'm not going to ignore them for 3 months. I'm still going to call them up every once in a while. Can I take you to lunch? Can I pop in? Can I say hello? Can I see the new renovation? That type of thing. That's critical. And the consulting, the times that I've consulted with DJs, one of the first questions I ask them is, how are your relationships with your banquet halls, and how often do you get out to see them? And like you said, same thing with planners. And if the answer to that question is not good, then that's my first piece of advice: is get out. Get out on the road. Don't make it an email and a phone call, but get to see these people, because FaceTime is critical. So I think we're beating a dead horse here, but I think that's a very important point that you make there, Brian.
I mean, listen, honestly, it applies in any business. I mean, you guys both know this guy. So the other day, or Monday, I get a text from Terry Moran from Boston, and he's actually taking a job now with a company, and they do business with somebody in Durham. And so he goes, I'm in town, and do you want to go to lunch? So I go, yeah, man, we'll meet here for lunch or whatever. And we sit down for lunch, and I go, well, when'd you come in? He goes, I left my house at 4 o'clock this morning in Boston, and now he's sitting with me in Raleigh. And I go, well, when are you going back? He goes, right after lunch. I got a flight at 3:30. And I'm like, so what is the advantage of this company, which I assume is a multi-million-dollar company, to sending you here for a day? They probably spent $1,000 in plane tickets and per diem or whatever they gave him. And he was like, man, it's just about relationships. He went in there and met with the manager of this company that spends, I think he said $6,000 or $10,000 a month with his company, shook hands, whatever, kissed babies, and he was out and at lunch with me by 1 o'clock. So I think there's just value in that. Obviously, even companies that are much bigger than anything that you, Mike, or myself have created, Brian, and it's exactly what you said. It's about relationships.
Here's the best point I could make about how important FaceTime is.
Yeah.
Golf is a popular sport.
Yeah.
Golf is the boringest freaking sport in the world.
Awful. Worse than baseball.
It's played because that's where networking happens. Golf is fantastic for business.
Yes.
Yes, it's probably more boring than baseball. So, and so Brian, you've gone from California to Florida, and then when you moved up to New York, you again left the satellite down in Florida. What, Joe? Are you okay?
Yeah, I just got one of those freaking cramp things.
Oh, Brian, you can't see him right now.
No, I can't.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, Joe just reacted like. You all right?
Yeah,
you need to walk it off.
No, it's one of those. Whatever.
Are you hydrated enough?
Yeah, I'm sitting here pounding water, and it's.
But that's a sign of growing old. Joe just hurt himself sitting down.
Recording a podcast.
Joe is sitting down talking, and he just pulled a muscle.
Oh, Jesus.
Wow.
I'm all right.
That's not good. And by the way, we should have mentioned this in case anyone is watching this on video and missed the first episode with Brian. You're not seeing Brian right now.
True.
You're only hearing him because he's got a PC, right? I mean, is that the reason we're chalking up for this?
He says it's because he's sick, and I think it's because he has a PC.
Oh, that's right. We're going to go with that excuse. Yeah. So my question to you, Brian, is there another move in your future, and will you then leave a satellite in New York, or are you and your beautiful wife, Tara, done moving around this beautiful country?
So I actually had a plan to open 5, one in the Midwest and one in Hawaii. And I think those plans have gone to the side. This one has been so hard, this New York market, and now I'm kind of feeling like it's just like I've got it set. So I feel like these 3 spots are good enough, and I'm confident in where we're at with what we got going on, that this is where I need to be. So I don't see those other 2 opening anytime soon, unless one of our guys decides to want to be a part of that.
So you think you'll be a New Yorker now for quite some time?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Good.
It's like once you get here, it's hard to leave.
Well, on a personal note, I'm happy to hear that because my wife and I enjoy spending time with you and your wife. And the fact that you're only a train ride away makes it nice and convenient. You know?
Absolutely.
I'm coming in October, and I want to be convinced that New York is not terrible.
Have we made plans for that, Joe?
Yeah,
when are you coming?
No, I'm coming October. I'm gonna let y'all know. It's
okay.
October.
Very cool. Brian, I know you have spoken at a lot of conferences about Vibo. I'm not sure if our listeners are familiar with the product. Tell us why you are such a big proponent of Vibo. Tell us what it is and why you love it so much.
Yeah, so it's basically a way for couples to organize their music and also do some of their planning with planning forms that we currently use. And I think what I love about it so far is that it speaks to today's bride and groom. They really they're looking for apps all the time of ways to communicate, and the tools that we have as an industry just never kind of morphed into that, or never has progressed into that field. And so this is finally something that kind of has taken the reins and decided, like, we're going to go full throttle into it. And so it's actually been a selling tool for me. When I've mentioned that it just comes with our service, people are so excited about it. The fact that it integrates with Spotify and some things that they're already using, tools they're already using to plan their wedding, they love it. So it's fresh and it's constantly evolving. Like it's getting better and better as it goes along, and I don't think it'll be too much longer before it really has the opportunity to take over.
Yeah, I thought of Vibo the other day. I overheard a conversation in my office. Somebody was sitting down with a client, and the client said that they wanted to allow their guests to make requests. Yeah. And they said, "Oh, we're probably going to give our clients our login information for DJ Event Planner." And the person in my office said, "Oh, you might not want to do that because then your guests could change other critical information." And I thought that's where Vibo would have been cool, right? Because a client can say to their guests, "Here, you can make requests through this app," but they couldn't change their wedding song or something critical like that. Am I simplifying it too much there?
No, you got it perfect. I'll give you one story of how this has worked. And one of the ways that it's speaking today's language is that it uses similar functions to like Instagram or Facebook, in the sense that if a guest requests a song, you can see those requests and you can like those requests with a little heart.
Right.
So I had a song where somebody requested, and it wasn't even the groom or the bride. It was Shameless by Garth Brooks in the dancing segment. And if you know that song at all, it is not a dancing song whatsoever. So I was really shocked to see that in there, much less that it had 30 likes with it.
Oh, wow.
And so I was like, this is a banger of a song for some reason. I don't get it. And the fact that the bride and groom didn't request it made it even seem more odd. So I asked.
Yeah, you would have left it untouched. I mean,
it would have been a burner. It would have been something I would have used during cocktail hour or whatever. So I asked the groom, I said, hey, can you give me a little background on this? Why is this song so popular? It's like the most popular song on here. And he said, well, it's funny you ask. He said, my name is actually Seamus. And so whenever it gets to the chorus, they change the name from Shameless to Seamus. And I said, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I said, I'm so glad I asked, because if I wouldn't have known it, like you said, it would have been a burner song I would have used early on.
Yeah.
And it was really
the main reason you asked was the 30 likes. That's what made it jump off the page for you.
That's really
cool,
man.
Especially if you're going into a place where, like, let's say it's an ethnic wedding and you're not too sure what's going to hit. This is like getting the cheat sheet to the test before you get there. And it makes you look good. It makes your client look good. Like, oh my gosh, we hired the right guy. And you're just getting, it's because you've got all this intel before you even get there. You kind of know what's going to hit. So I think it has its value.
Cool. All right. Well, they're not a sponsor yet, so we don't have to spend too much.
But it is on the App Store, right, Brian?
Yeah, it's free.
VIBO for the people listening. VIBO. So check it out. So Brian, before we move into this last segment of the podcast, I mean, I think that there's no doubt. Obviously, you being on the show just makes you successful. That just, I mean, let's just be honest. Like,
is this it? He's reached the level of success.
Like, you've made it if you're on our show.
PHDJ podcast.
But if you had to, and I know you gave a great piece of advice on the first episode. So again, if you haven't listened to that, listen. And but without giving away, what you're going to talk about at Marquee, or giving away, everything in your in your playbook. Give us a piece of advice that the listeners can take away about why you think you've been successful in the DJ industry. Period. Mobile DJ, club DJ. Like, what is it? What do you think is one of the main reasons that B-Boy has succeeded, or Brian Buonassissi? It doesn't matter. Look at that.
Honestly, and this may be really dumbed down, but I think it's playing nice with others. I think DJs get a bad rap, and maybe rightfully so, that like, hey, we're the expert, I know what's best, and I just have always felt like, hey, there may be things I do know, but there may be things I don't know, and I'd rather come into it with a collaborative mindset and less of like me being an authoritarian and feeling like I know everything, and that has probably been the biggest secret to my success. People always say, man, it's just so nice and refreshing to work with you, because you just, you're easy to get along with. So, and what's funny is it's not about my skill set necessarily. It's just really about being easy to work with, and people appreciate that. So, I think that if you can kind of, especially as a DJ being the front and center, sometimes we can get that ego thing and feel like it's all about us. And I think if you can kind of, put that to the side and do it for the better good, it'll help your career.
100%, man. I mean, I get this every week. I'll walk into a venue that I haven't been in a while, and as I'm setting up, somebody that works at that place will come over and go, let me tell you about this dude that was here last weekend. And they'll just go into this story about him demanding a meal, or how he wanted to change the entire format, literally 10 minutes before the doors open. And it just, I think a lot of it has to do with personalities. I mean, I understand that we have something probably wrong in our brains to want to stand up in front of people and play music and speak on a microphone, being that it's one of the biggest public speaking is one of the biggest fears in the human. But something's a little bit wrong with us. But there's a certain personality trait that you have to be able to control to be able to work with others. And I couldn't agree with you more. That's a great piece of advice.
You said the word ego, Brian, and I think that has a lot to do with it. I think that one of the biggest challenges with our industry is it can give you a runaway ego if you allow it. I mean, we get tons of compliments after our parties, gratuities, brides writing rave reviews
hugs,
on Wedding Wire,
high fives.
Hugs, and sometimes they chant your name at the end of the night and one more song. And all that, if you allow it, can really give give you runaway ego. And that's when you stop working with other people and start treating people around you as if they are secondary to you. And I think keeping your ego in check has a lot to do with that. And I'd say you've done a great job of that, Brian, because for somebody who is as successful as you are, you don't come across like your shit doesn't stink.
Oh, well, thanks. Appreciate that. Yep.
Yeah. At the end of the night, at the end of the day, we're playing other people's music. We're not even musicians. I mean, come on.
Right.
Right. Listen, I can understand getting a big head if I'm the lead singer of Maroon 5. So speaking of Maroon 5,
that was a good segue.
Thank you.
Let's wrap up this show. We'll just talk a little bit about new music. I think the three of us have in common is that we're still active DJs. We're out there every weekend. So
and we actually still like music.
And we do.
Love it.
Joe and I have talked about this on the podcast. You actually, Joe, still listen to new music for personal.
Yeah, man.
As do I. So let's cover our events first, and then we have time. We can talk about personal. But what have we found new in the last 6 months that's working for us at our events? Brian, you're our
Brian, kick it off.
So it's funny when you guys did your podcast with top party songs that you guys use.
Yeah,
I probably use 5 of those classics at a wedding. It's constantly evolving from the new hits, and that's just maybe it's just the clientele I'm attracting. They want the new hits that are out there. And I'm not saying I'm breaking new music by any stretch, but I'm playing stuff that's in the top 40 for sure. So right now, I mean, God's Plan by Drake, and I mean Drake's on every on every record pretty much. That song seems to get the best. It's. I heard somebody on a different podcast talk about how it's like the artists of today are like 15-second Instagram songs now, where it's like it's all about the line or the hook, and then they want to get out of it. So quick mixing is really big, and so a song like God's Plan, I literally will play a chorus, 2 verses, and I'm out. And so that's a big one for me. Jackie Chan just came out recently. It's Post Malone and Tiesto. The dance mix of that is fantastic, and there's a lot of blends with mashups and stuff like that with it that I use a lot. Mine by Bazzi, I think that's how you say it, is another biggie.
I like that one.
I Like It, the Cardi B. It's got like that.
That was the one I was gonna.
The Blackout All Stars.
Yep.
I like it
kind of like that. Yeah, I was getting ready to
mention
that. Yep.
And the other 2, there's a lot of like covers that are coming back of 90s tracks that are really good, like dance versions of stuff. There's one called Let Me Love You. There's a Brandy, what was it? The Brandy, The Boy Is Mine.
Yeah.
A couple new mixes of that are back, that are fresh. And then let's see, 2 others I had written down. One Kiss by Calvin Harris has worked well for me lately.
I mentioned that one.
And then Havana still does well. Camila Cabello still works.
Yeah.
Agreed. She effectively broke that group Fifth Harmony up.
Yeah, she did.
Yes, they're done.
They're done.
Yep. I was gonna mention definitely that Cardi B. I Like It. Drake, Nice for What as well works, even though it has those kind of 2 weird breaks. I'm sure I could chop it up.
I just got my hands on a remix of that, which I haven't played yet, but I'm definitely going to. I think that's a better song than God's Plan. I think it's going to be big.
The tempo is better for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then anything that Dua Lipa, if I'm saying that right,
New Rules.
New Rules, and then One Kiss is with her, is Calvin and her, right?
I think so. Yep.
That's the singer on that one. So that's her. So those were the ones kind of similar that you were going to mention that are quote unquote new. I mean, but like Mike and I said on that one podcast, I mean, it's crazy. How just old stuff still works. Your Usher, and your even especially now that the age that these brides are, where you can go back to that 90s, Spice Girls Wannabe and Everybody's Backstreet or Bye Bye Bye. Like that shit goes off like it was, like the hottest thing out right now.
My last wedding on Sunday was in Brooklyn. I didn't play one hip hop song the whole night, which not even at all.
Right.
It was all 90s for the most part with a little bit of high energy dance. And I didn't need it. Like to say that I didn't need by Usher.
Yeah.
I mean, some people would die without that. I didn't play one line dance. I didn't need it. I just was able to rock it with just the songs that were, on their list, if you will.
That's beautiful.
So the only songs that are on my list that I haven't heard, Girls by Maroon 5. Have you started working that in?
Man,
I haven't.
I don't have the right mix for it. I love.
I have a dance mix of that I really like. I love the hook of it. I've gotten a couple requests for it. The Middle by Zed, I've been using for quite a while.
I do love that.
And I know it's not brandy new, but Finesse is still killing for me.
Really?
Yes. With the version with Cardi B on it.
Yeah.
And I've been trying. Maybe this is just me because I love the song so much. But the Azukita, the Steve Aoki and Daddy Yankee, I've been playing that and it's been working. I usually double that up with Danza, which I still play, Danza Cadora. It's just got that great Latin dance vibe to it. And again, maybe it's just because I love the song personally so much.
Interesting.
You know what's funny about but anything Spanish now? I just saw this today. It's all over Instagram. That J Balvin has now become the most streamed artist on Spotify, over Drake, over everybody. So you talk about how big Spanish music is, or how big it influences.
That market is
how
humongous.
big that market is all over the world. If he's the most streamed artist ever on Spotify, and I bet I could mention, go out here and do a poll, 8 out of 10 people here wouldn't even know who that is.
Well, we've talked. That's a regional thing. You didn't play Despacito at all last year, and I played it at almost, and I'm still playing it from time to time.
Yep.
I mean, it's not a go-to song, but I still drop it in. Brian, are you still, or has that left your bin?
Yeah, it's left the bin. Yeah. In fact, people actually hate it now. At least a lot of mine.
I haven't found that. When I do drop it either by request or on my own, it still kind of goes.
I don't get a groan.
I haven't.
Yeah, I wouldn't get a groan either.
And listen, I know we're all talking about dance music, but I do want to mention one of the newest songs that I just freaking love is the new Jason Mraz, Have It All. I don't know if you guys have heard it, but it is such a phenomenal, and I think do you know it, Brian? It has like a little bit of a reggae. It's first of all, it's a perfect summer song. You can drop it in. Joe, you probably have it from I know you don't use promo only, right?
No, I get Chartbuster. I can't remember.
It's the lyrics though would be great for a parent's dance. So I hope Mraz puts out a slower acoustic version because I think it would be a great parent's dance. The way it is, the original is a little bit too upbeat, I think, for most father-daughter type situations. But I think
another one I'm using a lot, but I'm forcing this down the throat because I love the song so much, is the Mike Walter intro edit of A Good Night by John Legend.
Thank you very much.
What's the song?
That, didn't I?
A Good Night by John Legend.
Yeah. John Legend.
I love the song. It just hasn't hit. It just won't. So I use it during cocktail hour or walk-in all the time. But your edit is great, Mike.
Thank you. Oh.
The dog has attacked his headphones, ladies and gentlemen. Brian, give us one. I ride around on the subway with my Apple AirPods in, and I listen to X. Like I don't want to know something you play at gigs. I want to know something like Brian Buonassissi personally likes. I don't give a shit if it's 30 years old or 3 days old.
Yeah. Lav is a guy I love right now.
I love that dude.
LAUV.
If you don't have that record. Or I think
it's great.
He calls it I Met You When I Was 18.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
I Met You When I Was 18.
Every track he drops has been great so far. I Like Me Better is probably my favorite, but and I've tried it at gigs. It doesn't really work, but the Knox is another.
Okay.
Although I do use that for gigs. They got a song called Ride or Die, which actually features one of my other favorite bands out right now, Foster the People.
Yeah, I love
They're great.
Yep.
So, and then the new Chromeo album just dropped. I just
saw you post that. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, every track is great. Now, lyrically, is it going to work? Probably not. But the groove, if you're not listening to the Chromeo album, you need to get it because it's unbelievable. So those are the ones I usually do discover on Spotify.
Yeah, me too.
Weekly, it's great. They know my likes, and so I find a lot of literally a lot of new artists through that. Spotify's
everything, man. They've kicked Apple Music right in the butt.
Well, and the problem is one of my guys uses Apple Music, and you can't I can only see their list. I have to pay to listen to it. So I mean, Spotify just is killing it.
Mike,
Joe, how about you? I'll tell you what. My two favorite new albums this year, the Janelle Monáe. I just freaking love. I've been spinning that since it came out, and I just read a review about this, so I downloaded it. A female singer named Kali Uchis. And I downloaded the album. I've been listening to it nonstop. Kali.
She's coming here, and it keeps coming up on my feed as if I like it. Okay.
Listen to the song "Just a Stranger." that one song, I mean, a whole album I love, but that one song, I was listening to it on a run the other day, and I love it. I have 5% left on my battery though, so you better do this, and I will put a wrap on this.
All right. So I love the Leon Bridges album. If you like old soul, he's incredible. There's a hip hop guy here locally, but his album's unbelievable. It's on Spotify. His name is Nance, and the record is called No Excuses. And then my favorite, this is probably my favorite album that's ever come out ever in the summer, and it literally is front to back, rides like a beach day. It's a guy named Quinn, XCII. I guess that's a Roman numeral, and I don't know Roman numerals well enough. But it's called The Story of Us, and I promise you, if it plays, it just smells like summer, man. It's incredible. Nice. So that's it for this episode. Brian, thank you again, man, for joining us for not only one but 2 episodes. We appreciate you, man. You're really a class act. And
hey, listen, next week you are both in Chicago at Marquee, so I wish you both a fantastic conference. And to KC, I hope it goes well. I can't wait to hear all about it.
We're going to rip it up.
Sounds good.
Rip it up. I love that city. All right. So thanks, guys, for listening. Again, if you're interested in our workshop, it's phdjworkshop.com, and we will be in Las Vegas in March, and we hope to see you guys all. Always, thank you for listening. Please subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes or wherever.
Have a good one, Brian. Brian, thank you again. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Woo!